Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to all of our friends from the Rotary Club of Makati West and the Rotary Club of Makati. My name is RJ Ledesma. I am proudly from the Rotary Club of Makati West, happy to be your moderator for this afternoon's session. And as we begin with today's session, may I kindly invite our good-looking President, President Franco Del Rosario, Rotary Club of Makati West, and our equally good-looking President, the President of Rotary Club of Makati, Louis Asioche, to call our meeting to order.
Good afternoon. I call to order the 2317th meeting of the Rotary Club of Makati West.
Thank you, RJ, for the Rotary Club of Makati call this meeting to order.
Thank you very much, dear presidents. And with that, may I kindly invite everybody to join us in a moment of prayer and reflection to be led by Rotarian Keith Harrison of the Rotary Club of Makati.
As we gather here today as members of Rotary, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much for that very heartfelt prayer, Rotarian Keith Harrison. And with that, may I please invite my fellow Rotarians to join us in the singing of our Philippine national anthem. Thank you very much. What a wonderful video of the national anthem to share. Don't you all agree? And with that, may I kindly invite my fellow Rotarian from the Rotary Club of Makati West, Director Edsa de los Santos, to join us in singing the Makati West hymn.
Hi, fellow Rotarians. Please join me in singing our Rotary hymn. Handa, awit. Like all Rotarians, we take the lead to lend a hand to brothers in need. Service of ourselves
be our creed, promoting goodwill through meaningful deeds.
The Rotary Club of Makati West, helping communities the way we know best. Man of action, man with zest, we are Rotarians, doing our best.
We show the way
for change and improvement. Social upliftment is our fulfillment. Service above service guide. We follow. Serving today for a brighter tomorrow. Yeah! Thank you so much, Director Edsa. And with that, may I please invite us for our four-way test, Rotarian Fred Parunga and PP Fred Parunga from the Rotary Club of Makati. PP Fred?
Yes. Can you please flash the test, the four-way test, so that we can all follow? Okay. Four-way test of all the things that we think, say, and do. Is it fair to all concerned? Is it the truth?
Is the truth?
It's the truth.
Second, is it fair to all concerned?
Fair to all
Is it
concerned.
fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build
Will it
good?
build goodwill and better friendships?
Lastly, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, PP Fred. And again, as I announced earlier, thank you so much to everybody for joining us at our joint
Sir,
meeting.
We have RC Makati hymn, sir.
Okay, it's there. Please, can you please play the RC Makati hymn?
We're the Rotary Club of Makati, and together we stand proud. We are leaders with integrity, always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four-way test, building goodwill and peace along the way, giving hope to the world. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, prepared to aid our fellow men, as true Rotarians we live to lead. We believe in service above self, and this is why we succeed. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, and together we stand proud. We are leaders with integrity, always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four-way test, building goodwill and peace along the way, giving hope to the world. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, giving hope to the world. The Rotary Club of Makati.
And again, thank you so much to both the members of the Rotary Clubs of Makati West and Makati for joining us for this afternoon's lunch program. And before we begin, my name is RJ Ledesma. I am a Rotarian from the Rotary Club of Makati West. May I just ask one favor from all of our 38 participants right now in our Zoom meeting, and that is just before we begin, can you kindly turn on your videos just for a bit? Please turn on your videos and your audio at the same time. And please take a good look at your fellow Rotarian to the left side or to the right side of you right now. Kung maaari lang sana po, please take a good look at the Rotarian on the left side and the right side. Kunyari, katabi mo ngayon. And please tell them, ang gwapo mo. Pakisabi lang po, ang gwapo mo at ang ganda mo. Ang gwapo mo.
Ang gwapo ko.
Fredo.
Gwapo ko din.
Gwapo ka
Ang
rin.
ganda mo, ang gwapo mo. Tita Nelly, ang ganda mo. Okay.
Gwapo nyo.
Ang gwapo nyo lahat. Oh. Architect June, ang gwapo mo.
Oy, RJ, gwapo. Speaker namin, Jojo, ang gwapo rin. He's a good architect. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much to everybody for joining us here right now. And with that, we would like to introduce any visiting Rotarian or visiting guests that we have here right now to our fellow Rotarians from RCMW and RCM Makati.
I have a
yes, please.
RJ.
Yes,
I have a guest. I see Attorney Edsel Tupas of Goriseta Law, who is now on his third joining us the third time. And then I also welcome Edsel.
Thank you, Roy. Glad to be
Attorney
here.
Edsel, kumusta ka na? Welcome to
Okay naman.
RCMW.
And then also
Nakakatatlo na.
kaya nga. And then I have also another guest, Mr. Arnold Santillan, who is in mergers and acquisitions.
Hi, good
Welcome,
afternoon.
Arnold.
Thank you, Rui, for inviting me again.
The
And good
second
afternoon.
time. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our attorneys. Yes.
Can I introduce
Yes,
my
sir.
guest? Our
Yes,
guest.
sir. Please go ahead.
Attorney Bibit Pacturan is here with us.
Hi, I'm BP Paktoran.
Wow.
Right.
They invite me
Good
there.
lawyer.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the lawyers joining us, making our lives more complicated, especially during this ECQ. We really appreciate your presence.
It's our pleasure.
Do we have any more guests and visiting Rotarians from the Rotary Club of Makati West?
Yes, Lars here, and
Hi, Lars.
apologies. I cannot turn on the camera. I'm not sure why, but so it's a very one-sided pleasure. But I have actually a guest with me here in the office, and it is the third time that former Rotarian Terry, he is attending one of our meetings. So I'll just let Terry introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Terry Ferris. I'm the former COO of Asian Institute of Management Scientific Research Foundation. I've been in Asia for 23 years. I'm chairman of a number of companies here in the Philippines and around the region, and it's a real honor to be here. I was a Rotarian back in Hong Kong 23 years ago.
And this is his third meeting, attendance of our meeting. So after this meeting, we can basically grab his checkbook, I guess.
Thank you, Terry, for your checkbook. You can even paint checkbook. Thank you very much. And do we have any more visiting Rotarians or visiting guests from the Rotary Club of Makati West?
RJ?
Yes, President Franco.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome my guest, Lemark Lemosnero. He's the Director for Supply Chain Semiconductor Manufacturing at Nexperia, Philippines. And this is his fourth meeting with us. Welcome, Lemark.
Hi, afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here.
Welcome, Lemark, and welcome to RC Makati West. Very happy to have you on board. And with that, how about our friends from the Rotary Club of Makati? Do you have any visiting Rotarians or guests from the Rotary Club of Makati?
Largely for Makati, we have Ans Meli Benson and Yvonne Kwan as guests.
Hi, Tita Nelly, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to all of the guests who have joined us here as well. I hope that you will enjoy today's special guest, and it's a really interesting session we have. Yes, Junie.
It's only if I plug it into my phone.
And with that also, we would like to introduce who are the personalities in the presidential table here today. I don't have the names here right now, but President Franco, would you happen to have the names of the people who will be in the presidential table here today?
Yes, we have Past President Fred Parungaw, who led us the four-way test, and also for invocation, Rotarian Harrison, Keith Harrison, and then we have our own director, Edsa de los Santos, and of course, life-changing President Luis Aseoche, and yours truly, Franco del Rosario.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, for introducing our personalities at the presidential table. With that, moving on, maybe kindly ask if there are any committee announcements from the Rotary Club of Makati West or from the Rotary Club of Makati. Let's begin with the Rotary Club of Makati West. Do we have any committee announcements?
RJ, hi, I'm Tan. I'd like to.
Hi, Doc. Yes. Doc, you're a bit choppy. You're a bit choppy, po.
I'll turn off video and hopefully I'm better audio wise.
Much better now. Much better now.
Okay, so the cataract project will continue this Saturday, even if there's a lockdown. We've already made all the arrangements with the patients and doctors. So please pray for us that everybody will be operated on successfully. And I just will ask all the Rotarians not to visit because it is ECQ. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mabuhay kayo, Dr. Tini. We're with you there in spirit. Thank you for continuing our Rotary mission here in Rotary Club of Makati West. Are there other committee announcements from the Rotary Club of Makati West? If not, maybe kindly ask President Louie, are there any announcements from the Rotary Club of Makati?
So far from our end, RJ.
Okay. Thank you so much. And with that, allow me to greet our celebrators for the month of August. And we actually have two celebrators who are celebrating their birthdays today. First of all, is a very good friend from the Rotary Club of Makati West, Rotarian Christopher Tope Narciso. Rotarian Chris, if you're here, happy birthday to you. And thank you so much for being part of the club. And from the Rotary Club of Makati, we have spouse Beth Periquet. Miss Beth, happy birthday to you. Moving on from the Rotary Club of Makati, on August 7, we have PP Bimbo Mills. On August 8, from the Rotary Club of Makati, spouse Julie Keener. On August 9, from the Rotary Club of Makati, Rotarian Peter Coyuto. On August 10, Rotary Club of Makati West, we have PP Ed Baloy. Happy birthday in advance, PP Ed.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
My pleasure.
Okay, on August 10, we have Rotary Club of Makati's spouse Menchu Pascual. And on August 11, from the Rotary Club of Makati, we have spouse Tisa Fernandez. And for wedding anniversaries, we have on August 8, Rotarian Ian Ocampo and spouse Christina from the Rotary Club of Makati West. On August 8, we have Rotarian Ira Keener and spouse Julie. And finally, in August 10, Rotarian Philip Saya and spouse Kathy. Again, to all of you, an advanced happy wedding anniversary. And since PP Ed Baloy is over here, may I invite everyone to join us in singing happy birthday to PP Ed and to all of our Rotarians celebrating their birthdays this month. At the count of 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, happy birthday.
Happy birthday to all of you.
Okay, thank you so much, PPN. PPN, happy one day before ECQ birthday.
What a reminder, RJ.
I hope your wish is that the ECQ ends in 2 weeks, and of course, you're able to stem the rise of the Delta variant. And with that,
will do my best. Thank you.
Thank you, PPN. And with that, may I kindly invite our good-looking president, Franco Del Rosario of the Rotary Club of Makati West, for his president's time. President Franco, the floor is yours.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We finalized our 8 geographical home clusters. Each home cluster is headed by a director. Unlike the weekly Thursday meetings where there is a limited participation among members, a home cluster is a platform that gives more members airtime to share what's going on with them and to share ideas. There is at least one director assigned to each home cluster who will facilitate your first home cluster meeting. Subsequently, it is recommended that you rotate the facilitating. If you haven't been contacted yet by your cluster head, you will soon be. The director assigned to your cluster will discuss with you your selection of a project or a committee you'd like to be involved. If you don't select at least one, then one will be suggested to you. When the time comes, the IATF allows in-person meetings. Your home cluster may decide to attend our regular Thursday meeting remotely in one of the homes of your cluster members. Weekly meetings will always be available via live stream Zoom conference. So as mentioned by Dr. Timmy earlier, lockdown or not, the business of changing lives continues. This Saturday, our very own Dr. Timmy scheduled cataract surgeries. The same goes for saving lives. The lockdown does not deter our partner, the Los Santos Medical Center, scheduled our PDA device closure for 6 patients. Wednesday next week, August 11, part of the funds to be used is the balance from the telethon donation of IPP Al Thompson with Gift of Life International Director Rob Roblin and donation from our Gift of Life Chairman, our very own Jerry Lim Cauco. Thank you, IPPL, Rob, Jerry, and Dr. Ago. This is a very special day for me. I sit in the board of the Forbes Tower condominium, with architect Jojo Tolentino. A couple of years ago, life-changing President Louis Aseyoche was also with Jojo and I in the same Forbes Tower board. Actually, Jojo deserves a medal. He sat in 34 meetings with me over 28 months. That comes to one meeting every 25 days. I have never known a person with such patience. Actually, if not for the fact that I'm learning so much from our guest speaker, Jojo, every time we have a board meeting, I would definitely have quit this board a long time ago. Now, more good news. Our very own Mario Chan, who will be introducing Jojo, and Jojo messaged me yesterday. He said, Mario is a long-lost friend of mine. I'm glad we reconnected via Rotary. Meanwhile, Mario also messaged me. I wish to inform you, President Franco, that your good friend Jojo has accepted our invitation for him to be a part of the family of the Rotary Club of Makati West. So now that both Jojo and Mario are both Makati West Rotarians, then there is no longer any possibility that they will be long-lost friends again. That's what I call win-win-win. Win for Jojo, win for Mario, and win for Makati West. And it's also a win for life-changing President Louis, as he's also reconnected with Jojo. We can look forward to yet another brilliant speaker next Thursday, Craig Loney, Chief Development Officer of the DDB Group. Craig facilitated our club's planning review over a few Saturdays in June. A sneak preview of some of the material he will be covering would be about culture is our strategy, while avoiding groupthink. And about leadership, Craig says leadership is lonely, and leaders need to accept moments of isolation. Men of zest, there will be a lot of takeaways for your own businesses. Since Craig has become knowledgeable about Makati West, he will also be relating his presentation on the application to our club. Have I whet your appetite already? Craig is relocating to Hong Kong. So he's now in Dubai en route to Hong Kong, so you don't want to miss his talk. Have a good afternoon, Men of Zest and Rotary Club of Makati Rotarians. Thank you.
Sorry, and I was going to say thank you so much again, President Franco. And with that, Jojo and Mario, there is no escape now from the Rotary Club of Makati West. With that, may I kindly invite President Louis Aseyoche for his president's time. President Louis.
Thank you, and ang gwapo mo rin, RJ.
Gwapo mo.
Thank you to my classmate LCP Franco de Rosario, brother of our member, past President Carlos, for inviting us to this joint meeting with our first daughter club, RC Makati West. Welcome also to our guest speaker and friend and erstwhile co-director, architect Jojo Tolentino, and thank you for accepting this invitation to share his thoughts on disruption and digital transformation. I know you are a busy person, and obliging us with your time is truly a privilege. Now, here are the things we did last week. On July 26, the Rotary Club of Makati team went to Marikina and Rodriguez, Rizal, to deliver relief bags containing rice, canned goods, noodles, bottled water, shirts, mats, and blankets to a total of 400 families staying in 3 evacuation sites. The relief mission is in partnership with Rotary Club of Marikina and the Rotary Club of Rodriguez. After delivering relief in Marikina and Rodriguez, Rizal, the RC Makati Emergency Response Team also went to Calapan, Oriental, Mindoro, just 3 days later or on the 29th of July to bring much needed relief, likewise to people whose lives had been disrupted by Typhoon Fabian. Mindoro, as we all know, was one of the provinces hardest hit with floodwaters rising to the rooftops. The relief mission in Calapan is in partnership with RC Downtown Calapan and RC Downtown Batangas. Please oblige me with this RCM video news on this relief project.
Continuous rain brought by an enhanced monsoon due to Typhoon Fabian inflicted significant damage on many areas in Luzon during the weekend, most notably Marikina and Rodriguez Rizal, where over 13,000 residents were forced to flee after their houses were submerged in flood water. The RCM Disaster Relief Team, headed by Chris Ferrareza, started mobilizing as early as Saturday morning and connecting with Rotary clubs for possible relief efforts. On July 26, RCM team headed by President Louis Sioche, Secretary Eddie Galvez, Chris Ferrareza, Keith Harrison met at the clubhouse for a relief mission to bring much-needed relief to families temporarily staying at the evacuation centers. First stop was in Filipinas Gym in Malanday, Marikina, where they were met by representatives of RC Marikina, headed by President Manny Pecho and past President Fabi Cadiz, to bring relief to 200 families. Each family was given a relief bag containing rice, canned goods, and noodles. We also distributed hot meals from the RCM Paul Harris Kitchen and bottles of water from Bali Pure. Next stop was in Burgos Elementary School in Rodriguez Rizal for 70 families, where the team joined RC Rodriguez, headed by President Brian Ligsay, and IPP Pambaluyo to distribute the same set of relief items to 70 families. For the third and final stop, the team went to Casiglahan Elementary School, still in Rodriguez Rizal, where 130 families lined up to receive the goods. Our partner club, RC Rodriguez, also distributed 800 hot meals for the two sites. The club would like to thank RC Marikina and RC Rodriguez for partnering with us in this relief mission. We'd also like to thank the donors, IPP Peter and FA Pam Manzano, and family for preparing the 400 hot meals from the RCM Paul Harris Kitchen. P. Michael Escaler for the donation of assorted relief goods. Past President Tito Panlilio for the 100 cases of Bali Pure bottled water. RC Singapore for the school shirts. Past President Junjun and Cecil Dairit for sending their staff to help with the repacking. Our Rotaractors for helping with repacking and distribution. And Stepping Stone School for lending us its van to ferry the goods. All in all, the relief mission was able to benefit 400 families in 3 evacuation sites.
Likewise, in view of the decision of the IATF to place the NCR under GCQ with heightened restrictions and tomorrow under ECQ, and with the subsequent receipt of a formal notice of cancellation from the peninsula, we are postponing our 56th induction ball that is supposed to be scheduled tomorrow, August 6th, to a much later date. Since Metro Manila should be placed under ECQ from August 6 to 20, the induction committee, or my induction committee, is now working on a schedule with the PEN and with the team of the district governor on the optimal date when to hold the induction. Classmate Franco and our colleagues in Makati West, we shall be keeping you posted on the final date. And also, since the NCR Plus will be placed for 2 weeks under ECQ, the 2-week lockdown will surely affect low-income families once again. And our club is looking for ways of how we can help them during this time. Next Tuesday, August 10, there will be no meeting as it will be allotted for our service project week. Our next meeting will be on August 17 at 4 p.m. with Ms. Martha Sazon, President and CEO of Mint Globe FinTech Innovations, as our guest speaker. Keep safe and remain well.
Again, kudos to all the efforts of the Rotary Club of Makati. Martha Sazon of GCash is a very good friend, and congratulations. Hopefully you've got a great induction ball after this coming ECQ. And with that, thank you again for all the great updates from our dear, hardworking, and of course, good-looking presidents. Moving on with the highlight of our program, I'm looking forward very much to our next speaker who'll be talking about innovation during these very trying times. But before that, may I please call on Rotarian Mario Chan of the Rotary Club of Makati West to please introduce our guest speaker for this afternoon. Rotarian Mario, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Am I heard?
Yes, yes, Rotarian Mario,
Okay.
you heard.
Okay. Good afternoon, President Franco, President Louis, who is also my fraternity brother, distinguished guests, and fellow Rotarians. A friend I haven't seen for quite a while, at least for a decade, only often heard of. This is for you. If this is meant to be an opening up of the things I feel deep within, then let it be. For friends are people in front of whom you could kick up your shoes and be your true self without the fear of being turned away. Questions why, how, where, when, only true friends don't ask. They only answer through the heart. And with that, our guest speaker is the founder, president, and CEO of AIDA, a global integrated design and technology practice with over 800 projects in 90 cities in 60 countries across 5 continents. IDEA ranks 39th in the World Architecture 100's annual survey of the world's biggest architecture practices. IDEA is recognized worldwide as a frontrunner and expert on virtual design and construction, the first Asian practice to embrace the leading-edge technology in 2005. Based on the desire to advance innovation and to drive digital transformation, IDEA established its technology arm, IDEA Technologies, to provide custom design, cross-border virtual design, and construction solutions, providing VDC migration and customization expertise to clients across the globe. With the leadership, IDEA has won top prizes in BIM competitions such as Build London Live, Build Qatar Live, and BIM Buzz Singapore. The firm was recently recognized as the Innovation Company of the Year by the Nordic Chamber of Commerce Philippines, one of the top 10 BIM services companies by the Construction Tech Review magazine, and ranked among Asia's fastest growing companies for 2021 by the Philippine Daily Inquirer, the Financial Times, and Nike Asia. He has been given several awards and recognitions for his work and contribution to the industry. His awards include the Philippine Professional Regulation Commission's Outstanding Professional of the Year Award, the National Commission for Culture and the Arts Award, and the Ernst & Young's Innovation Entrepreneur Award. As IDEA expands its technology business, the firm continues to develop in-depth knowledge and expertise in automation and software integration to provide the responsive, intelligent, and data-driven solution to the industry's biggest challenges. With all the accolades and with too much on his plate, he sees to it that he still enjoys what life can offer by going saxophone. He is a workaholic with no intention to retire in the foreseeable future. After all is said and done, he has done more than said. I believe that at this early point in his life, he has built a monument in the heart of the people he has served and worked with. Fellow Rotarians, with great pride and honor, please welcome a good friend and a future member of the RC Makati West family, architect Abelardo Jojo Tolentino.
Thank you very much, Mario. Good afternoon to everyone. To President Franco and President Louis, my good friends, and my colleague in the profession, architect Jun Palafox, who's I understand is also in this call. Thank you again, everyone, for having me. And as Mario mentioned, my name is Jojo Tolentino. I'm an architect by profession. And aside from architecture, my other passion is technology. So today, let me share my screen. Okay. Do you see my screen, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
And am I coming in clear?
Yes.
Yes, please, Jojo, go ahead.
All right. All right, thank you, everyone, and good afternoon again. My topic for today is digital disruption and transformation in the building industry. As you know, technology has impacted all industries in the last 10 years, but it is highlighted by what happened in the last 1.5 years, where companies who have survived are the ones who invested and have leveraged on technology. The building industry is the same. We are always the last adapters of technology amongst all the professional community. But nonetheless, we see the importance of digital transformation and investing in technology. So what I'm going to present today are some of the emerging technologies that you will encounter as we move forward and as you get involved in designing buildings, either for your businesses, for your personal needs, or just as you observe in the industry. There is an interesting book that I just read. Its title is Post-Corona, and it's written by a business professor from the US. And his conclusions, despite the difficulties that Corona brought, are two things. Number one, that Corona accelerated change in the world and in industries. So the disruption that happened in the last 10 years occurred in less than a year, and the developments in technology. And the reason for that is there was a necessity to move faster and accelerate digital transformation in order for businesses to survive. The other conclusion he did is that in every crisis, there are always opportunities. And we observed that there are businesses, even during Corona, that have survived and have grown. The likes of Netflix, locally, GCash, Globe has grown. And the reason for that is that they have leverage on technology and use technology to grow and to provide new offerings for their consumers or for their clients. Now, specific to the building industry, what I'm showing here is a map of how technology has evolved in our business. In the 1700s, the printing press was developed, and that allowed us to produce documents faster. And then in the 1800s, up to the time I was studying, it was analog, where we had to draw using pen and paper and do our designs and documentation. And then in the mid 70s was the dawn of what is now called computer-aided design, or CAD. You probably have heard of this term. And this is nothing but drafting in the computer. So the data that we used to draw by hand is digitized in computer form. And the advantage of this system is that because it's digital, it can easily be shared, stored, and it offered efficiency to the industry. Now, at present, we have a new emerging technology called virtual design and construction. Now, this is always mistaken for CAD, but there's a big difference. First of all, virtual design and construction is a means of designing and documenting work on objects that are 3D based, meaning it is similar to how you would see a building and an object in real life. So it has it has height, it has length and width. With CAD, there's none. It's just length and width. There's no height. The other difference with BIM is that you can populate any object in that model with what we call data. And that data, as what I'm going to show later, is useful because it optimizes the way we do things, and it can be used for purposes other than design and building structures. And in the very near future, the building industry also has to evolve and have the ability to write codes and programs, because now even designs could be done and developed in collaboration with computers using artificial intelligence. So instead of humans doing the thinking by themselves, the computer aids us, architects, designers, contractors, so that we can design better structures, we can design faster, and we can analyze and improve the designs that we come up with. So we're currently in that stage, and which is exciting. And because of that, data has become very important. In the past, data is just used to process reports and for us to manually analyze design problems so that we can come up with a solution. But every company now realizes the importance of data. Data, as they say, is the new business. And for us, day to day, maybe unknown to us, we're giving away data to different platforms like Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. The building industry is the same. We need data. The problem is data in the building industry is not yet as accessible as data in social media. So that is one of the things that we as an industry also have to improve on. We need to make meaningful data available so that we can make use of that data and come up with better designs. In other countries, data is more organized and more transparent. And that's why they can mine those data and use that as they design, construct, and operate buildings. So another slide on data. Future-proof companies take data seriously. And as I mentioned, it's no longer just a tool to prepare a report. Data is the new business. And the other way we look at data is we say data is the new currency. Everybody's aware on how the building's life cycle is. We start with feasibility. And if the project is feasible, then there's a decision to continue with the design. And design, after completed, gets built. And after the building is completed, we operate the building until the time that we want to renovate or we want to redevelop a particular site where we demolish the building and then it goes back to feasibility. So this is the circular cycle of a building. In the past, the common problem of this cycle is that every phase is disjointed. Information coming from one is not necessarily made available to the other. And so the problem there is that, as I mentioned, there's efficiency loss, there's a lot of wasted effort, a lot of unnecessary money being spent. And in the end, it's a very wasteful and very inefficient process. Now, technology is now coming up and is showing that it can be a tool so that we can make these processes more connected, that we can use data coming from one and make it useful for the next phase of a building's life cycle. And so what I'm going to show you today are 10 technology trends in the building industry that makes use of data and shows how data can impact either the process of of designing or constructing a building and operating, and how we can tap data so that it can continue to grow and to populate, so that we can use it for different building applications. The first of the 10, number 10, is the technology called virtual design and construction, or what we now call BDC, I mentioned before. Now, as a trivia, we made research and interviewed owners in our industry, and our finding is that at least 15% of a building's budget is wasted on abortive work. So meaning, we're throwing away 15% of our budget on work that is not meaningful to the building. And what are the reasons why these things come about? Number one, the biggest reason is data or information is not coordinated. In the past, we were not able to prototype buildings. Unlike when you do consumer products like cars, you can build an actual size of a car and debug the system. Buildings cannot do that because of the scale of the building. But with virtual design and construction, and with using technology, we can prototype buildings now in the computer, so that we can understand each and every detail of a building. We can coordinate, we can see how engineering and architecture work together. We can make simulations like the one on the top left corner, where we are simulating the way the sun reacts to the building and how shadows are cast. So all of these applications now are possible. And this is using the virtual design and construction technology, BDC. Now, under BDC is another term, which is called building information modeling. And now, why is this important? Aside from drawing the prototype of the building, we can then input information in this building. In every element of this building can have information that we can mine and we can use for other applications. For example, if I put a door in this building, I can put information in that door on who is the supplier, what's the model number, what maintenance is required, and all this specific data, so that later I can organize, extract, and use that when I want to maintain the building or that particular object in the building. So again, this is important. This is becoming mainstream. Globally, the industry is already migrating to virtual design and construction. And this is something that will be commonplace, I would say, in the next 5 to 10 years. Number 9, automation. As we do building information modeling and use computers to design, we also can get rid of repetitive work. Because automation allows us to become more efficient in designing, so that we can deliver more faster and with higher quality. And in the office, we have a software writing division, and their task is to find ways to automate our work process. So work that usually take 4 months, currently we're doing in a few days because of the automation work that we do, and that also result in efficiency for the firm, and also shorter delivery period, which is also favorable to the client. Number 8, mobile and cloud-based collaboration. This is very relevant, especially during the pandemic, where we cannot meet face-to-face when we design. And so we have to rely on mobile and cloud-based platforms. Because of BDC, we have the ability now, the technology is such that we have the ability to create and design projects that is hosted in the cloud. In the past, we have to exchange files and use those files for other stakeholders to put their design. Now, with the cloud-based collaboration and with mobile-based collaboration, you can access projects 24/7, anytime, any day, anywhere in the world, as long as you have an internet connection, put data so that the project is literally live every time. And you can populate information if and when needed. Okay, the next is virtual and augmented reality, or in short, VR and AR. You probably have encountered virtual reality when you fill up your health declaration forms digitally using your mobile phone. We use the same technology in buildings and in building design, where we use QR codes that are linked to building models so that we can analyze and present designs virtually, either through mobile phone or mobile device. This is a very convenient and also very engaging way of showing information on building design. You can use this during design, construction, and operations. And also another realm of virtual collaboration is the virtual reality platform, where we have now technology that can simulate a project or space in what we call one-to-one scale. Or let me run this. Or simulating spaces as how you would see it in real life. And again, this is open to people or firms or participants from anywhere in the world, for as long as you have a connection. You can easily use this platform. And this is an example of what we have in the office when we review design work. And we try to experience the space before it gets built. Again, relatively inexpensive compared to building mock-ups and understanding design. It's very quick. And so something that we can share virtually. Number 6 is 3D printing. In the past, we rely a lot on drawings. Now, because of technology, and because of the 3D printers are affordable, it is becoming to be a useful tool for us to demonstrate, to develop design, and for owners and stakeholders to also understand. So some of these are actual 3D printing shots here of buildings we're developing in the office. During the pandemic, we shifted our effort to printing face masks, as you see in the lower right corner. And these are relatively inexpensive ways of using, again, BDC information and converting it into something that's tangible. I've also seen examples of houses being printed in other countries. So the 3D printing technology is not just now a prototyping tool, but in the future, it will also be a tool for building real houses. You can have mega 3D printers. Interesting. Number 5, artificial intelligence and robotics. We have the potential of saving 30% of cost because of automating work on the job site. This is an example of how automation and robotics can be applied in an actual construction using data coming from the BDC model. So you can implement work with very few people on the job site. As you know, because of the pandemic, people the amount of workers on the job site have been restricted. And in many countries, they're now looking at digital fabrication and digital construction and robotics, similar to what you see here. And I think there's no turning back. This technology will develop in the future, and there will be a time, especially it will be led by more advanced countries, where they will be using this in most of their job sites. Number 4, digital twinning. Again, an important development where we create what we call a duplicate or a twin of an existing project, and we call that a digital twin. And what we do is we populate information in that twin so that we can use that for analysis in design. If we, for example, want to change the air conditioning system of an existing building, we run it first in a digital twin so that we see the effect of the new system. And then from there, adjust the design so that when we implement on site, we do it right the first time. Digital twin also allows us to store information for future use. One of the most common problems of the industry is data storage. There is no system at the moment that allows us to have reliable data for future use. Often when I meet building owners, they don't know where the latest drawings are, or the latest building information. Now with the digital tools and with the idea of digital twinning, we're always assured that what we have is the most current version of a particular building. All right, this is another aspect of digital twinning. It's called lasers or point cloud scanning, where you use a point cloud scanner to read an existing building, and it creates millions of points, which becomes a digital representation of a particular site. In this case, a block. We're doing this project in Denmark, where we are converting an old building and we're repurposing it for a different function. And the first step is to create a digital twin of that building. This process takes only a day. So it's a quick process. And from here, we convert it to a VDC model, which we use for design work. Now, the importance of this technology is that in the future, every city in the world, every structure will be digitized. And we have to find the best way to convert existing buildings to digital form, to capture all those information. And point cloud scanning is one of those ways of doing that. Number 3, integrated facilities management. Okay, this is a comparison of how operations impacts the overall budget of a project. If you look at these dots here, if an owner pays $10 in design, they probably will spend $100 in construction and about $500 in maintenance. But if you look at the overall life of the building, they will spend $4,000 to operate the building. And so what this means is that if you really want to save on a building project, you have to look at the operations side of it and not the design, not the construction, because the biggest cost impact really happens when you start operating the building. It's probably like cars, where you buy a car, the most expensive part of it is maintaining and operating that car. So buildings are the same. Many owners look at savings just on construction, when in fact you have to look at savings on operations, right? Now, in the past, operations are done manually, building management. With new technologies, the building management system can all be digitized, computerized, and remember the data that we imputed before. You can link that data to facilities management platforms, and it can give you information on how your building is performing, which is important since that can translate to potential savings. It also allows us to schedule maintenance automatically. It gives you a calendar of how to maintain the building, when information on all materials that are in the building, so that you know where to source materials whenever you need to replace, for example, a certain part of a space. So all of that can all be digitized now. And this is what we believe the last frontier of the building life cycle that is not yet explored by the industry, the management part, which, as I mentioned, is the biggest cost in a building's life cycle. Big data, number 3, is important. What they say is that in the last 3 years, 90% of all available data was generated in the last 3 years. The problem is we hardly use that data in the building. Companies use only 10% of the data they own, and only 1% of companies have access to those data. So for us to be able to create developments that are meaningful, that are responsive to the need, we have to get access to that data. And that is why mining and tapping information from big data is important, because it allows us better customer insights. It allows us to innovate basing on real data. And then the last, number 1, is we are in the dawn of what we call the Internet of Things, where we use devices so that it gets data points and information that could be connected to different devices, not only buildings, but even your mobile device, so that you can access information and process information quickly, and also use that information so that you can design and run your projects better. So you probably have heard of some, for example, a lighting fixture that can be controlled from your mobile phone while you're on your way home. That is one of the applications of Internet of Things. But I think the biggest opportunity in IoT is really the data that it creates. And that data is something that can be processed, it could be applied in other similar projects in the future. Okay, so last few slides. Change is inevitable. And the way we see it is that change drives innovation. And the change always is an exciting opportunity for us to innovate. And in order for us to innovate, we need to also have a different mindset. And this is something that we follow in the office, which is called the Silicon Valley mindset, where we start with a vision and an innovation agenda for the firm. And then we surround it with opportunities for collaboration, for networking, for generating ideas so that we can come up with innovation every time in the way we do business and the way we design our projects. Architecture and the building industry is changing for good. There's no turning back. We always say data is a new business, and we have to be open to new technologies because it's new technologies that allows us to improve. And in our firm, we always use this motto: we have to connect, we have to innovate, and we need to transform in every project and everything that we do. Just a short background of IDEA. As I mentioned, we are an innovation, we call ourselves an innovation practice. So we do design, that's our core business. We also are invested and have a technology business. And there's a third bucket in our practice, which is called business. We also give business insights in every projects we do. And the business insights are drawn from our experience and design, and also the technology that we develop in-house. And globally, we were fortunate as a business to have the opportunity to design projects not only in the Philippines but abroad, and which makes the selection of our work exciting. But other than that, we also are passionate with technology. So aside from design, we also design solutions and software. And we believe that the combination of the two is an interesting offering and a value that we create to our clients and to everything we do. So that's a short, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you again for the opportunity to present to you. And I believe that we have a bit of time for question and answer. Thank you. And good afternoon.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jojo. I believe our moderator, RJ Ledesma, had to run out. He was called into an emergency. So I'm going to go ahead and, since we're always at the end of the program, I'll go ahead and facilitate the Q&A. So does anyone want to ask a question instead of my looking at the chat box here? Yeah, do I see it? Can you speak up? Oh, yes. Mr. George Barcelon?
Yes. President Franco. I'd just like to ask, first of all, let me thank Architect Tolentino for a very comprehensive presentation. It's very informative. One of the issue here, why a lot of projects are delayed, is really connected with the logistic of the delivery of materials that are needed. Okay, are those things that with the program have the insights or factoring those bills of material to be delivered, the timing of it? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, the answer, sir, is yes. From the data that's coming from the model that I mentioned before, that is populated with information, you can link it to for example, an estimating platform that will get all the BOQ or the bill of quantities of that particular project. Can also link it to a project management platform that will give you a schedule of materials procurement. It could even give you a manpower leveling estimate, so that it could aid you in your procurement. We did a project in Boracay not too long ago. And Boracay is an island, and logistics is a big problem because it's an island and it's expensive to ship materials from the mainland to Boracay. So the owner, aside from the design, asked us to create the model such that we can quantify everything, including the steel bars, including the wallpapers, the carpets. And their objective is, number one, so that they can compare it with contractors' bids. Second is they want to make sure that they're not under ordering, and at the same time that they're over ordering, because both have a cost, right? And so we use the VDC technology for us to come up with those quantities, and it's quite close to what happened in real life. So because of that extra step that we had to do for the client, they were able to save time, and also they were able to lower their logistics cost. So there is a way, sir, and it exists. There are successful projects that have already applied that technology.
Thank you very much. Because I've talked to a project management engineer who's a British guy from Hong Kong, and he said the projects here in the Philippines normally takes about, well, his estimate was about 1.5 times longer to construct a building.
Yes.
He said, we could build one maybe in 15 months. Here in the Philippines, it takes about maybe 3 years or more.
Yes,
so
sir,
I
I
thought,
think
with this technology, maybe this can be shortened. I mean, based on your experience, projects here in the Philippines with new technology? How much time does it help in the shortened construction?
Well, we did a 50-story high-rise here in Makati. The amount of abortive work was a lot less. Nothing is perfect, but it is within the lower range of the acceptable level. And we're able to hit target. That high-rise, normally you'll build it in 5 years. We're able to finish in 4 because the owner wanted to fast-track everything. Yes, project delays in the Philippines, from my experience, is a mixture of many things. Procurement is, of course, one. I think the biggest challenge is to the quality of coordination and documentation. Because if you think about it, if you're going to build something that is not correct, you have to demolish and redo everything. That takes a lot of time, right? Not to mention a lot of money. So that's why, if we prototype the building and examine and try to debug as much as we can the problems in the building before it gets built, then I think, from experience, we can save time and cost just using technology.
Thank you very much, architect. Thank you.
AI,
Architect.
Franco? Great presentation talk, Jojo. That's great. Jojo is an excellent architect globally. And thank you for sharing that. First of all, the good question, George. Elsewhere in the world, like Dubai, 5 days per floor, they can build it. And we have a project after a big earthquake in Nepal. Our client, Chuchi Foundation from Taiwan, asked me to design the hospital, university, and 3 schools to last 1,000 years. 40 generations. In our country, we have 100 years, only 4 generations. Our compatriots are skeptical. And many of our clients, many names, it's always the initial cost. That's not the life cycle cost. It's good that Jojo presented this, always do this. Another challenge is permitting process. 30% of construction and real estate costs in our country goes to corruption, both government sector and private sector. The Internet of Things, including Makati, we signed thousands of blueprints for building permits. Elsewhere in the world, like Dubai, Taipei, Singapore, all permits now are through the internet, except marriage license. We're still in blueprint, and how many trees are being destroyed for all these blueprints. Thank you again, Jojo, and congratulations for your successes.
Thank you. Those are good inputs. And I agree. The whole world is migrating to digital platforms. In places like Dubai and Singapore, you apply for a building permit, it's all digital. Europe is the same. We're still in blueprints.
How many trees yan?
You have to
climate change.
sign literally hundreds of drawings whenever we apply for a building permit.
Yeah, and internet reduces face-to-face corruption.
Yeah. I think the biggest gain in digital transformation is it makes the process transparent, and that's important. Transparency is something that we can gain if we decide to migrate to digital platforms. Then we can lessen the amount of corruption. We can avoid delays. Everything can be made public, and data is accessible. So I hope that the government seriously looks into this. I think it's good for the industry.
I think through the Rotterdam Makati, I spoke to mayor. She claims her city is a smart city, and I told her there's still corruption in building permits and fire department clearances. So you are not a smart city. I hope I will not get another libel case for this. Thank you.
Thank you, June. Thank you very much.
Any other questions from the floor?
Thank you, Franco. Thank you.
Go ahead, please, Arnold.
Hi, good afternoon. Jojo, thank you, Architect Jojo, for your presentation. And I think it's enlightening, about how we need to prepare for the fourth industrial revolution. My question, with technology, AI, robotics, just like back in the 1700s, mass production changed so many things, in terms of from farming to industrial revolution. Then we have the recently the computer revolution, internet revolution, and we're in the midst of this. And we all know robotics, AI are slowly replacing humans in some of the low value chain work. In the Philippine context, we rely so much on Filipino workers that we send overseas for construction, Middle East, especially Middle East. In Philippines also, a big part of our GDP is construction. How will this disrupt the labor force? How do you foresee the preparation needed so that we don't have all this void from unemployed, skilled construction workers now that they're going to be potentially displaced by AI, robotics, digitalization, automation? My question is more geared towards how do we prepare for all this to happen, to prepare, as managers, management, owners, architect, developers, at least more how to mitigate the effect. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a question. I always get asked that question when I talk about technology. And I tell them that there's a story that my accountant father told me. When the adding machine was invented, the accountants were worried that they'll lose their work because the adding machine will take over their jobs. But what happened is that they were able to be more productive and they were able to do work. And the accountants still are still there. They just have to reskill themselves. They have to train so that they can use the more modern gadgets. And I think in the construction industry it's the same. We have to accept the fact that we have to retool the stakeholders in our industry. For example, even in our practice, there was a time when being an AutoCAD expert, which is the old technology, was a what we call that a competitive advantage for a person. But now when we introduce the new technology, all of those skills have to be thrown out, and we had to retool people so that they can adapt and they can work with BDC. And of course, there were people who resisted, and there are those who are open-minded. Luckily, many more are more open-minded than the ones that were pushing back. And in the end, those people had to go. Because they cannot survive they cannot cope with the kind of work we're doing. And it's the same with anything. I think the job site the same. Skilled workers have to be retooled so that they can work better with the new way of doing things. I don't think that robots will totally replace humans. I think robots will, and AI and new technology will allow us to become more efficient so that we can do more. That's what we saw in our company. That's what we're seeing in other industries. We just have to be open-minded and accept the fact that we need to learn new skills.
Okay, are there any other questions? Yeah, okay, we'll call Architect June again to ask a question. Architect June Palafox, you have the floor. You were raising.
Amen to everything that George said. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Question. Thank you, Franco.
There's a question here on security. I saw that earlier. How secure is the system?
Security by design.
Yeah, we have to provide the security. We have to design the security of those data. And from our experience, so far we have no breach. There's a way to set it up so that it's secure. And now what we're also doing is we're moving all our data to the cloud. In in the past, we use our own servers to store data. Now, because the price of the virtual machines and the virtual servers have gone down, it makes sense now for us to migrate everything to the cloud, and that's more reliable. So we can now work anywhere, we can access data anywhere. And our people are saying it's just there's no difference between getting data from the cloud and getting it from our servers.
Okay. PP Washlu, you have a question that you put in the chat box. Would you rather ask that in person? Are you there? Okay, so let me go read it then. Jojo, the question is, a few months ago, I got a video showing a China construction engineering company building a 10-story building in less than 2 days, using stainless steel, guaranteeing their work for over 100 years. Can we do that here in the Philippines?
Tough question.
We don't have the same level of construction technology as what the Chinese have. If we do, then possibly we can. It's not comparable in my view. We're not at that level yet. We're not in that skill set yet. We're still having difficulties constructing in buildings. It's a skill that we haven't developed. In China and other parts of the world, they can, because steel for them is cheaper than building in concrete. So unfortunately, I don't think we can at the moment. We don't have the skill set. We don't have the people who can do it. Maybe in the future we can, if we reach the same stage as what China has. And frankly, I don't think you need to design a 10-story building in 2 days. It may be doable, but I don't know if it's practical.
Anybody else with any questions? Yes.
Can I ask a quick question about security? The security I was thinking of was not just how you look after your data or look after data, but with AI, it seems that all of the data is being shared or collected by people. So I have just installed, because it's fun, a few little of these electronic switches, which I can switch on and off with my telephone. And I then have to download an app, and the information is taken to, I don't know where. It's a Chinese company. I suspect it's somewhere in China. And so now they have the layout of my apartment and where my light switches are, which I don't feel is very important to me anyway, and is quite not a risk for me. But when you're talking about critical pieces of infrastructure, how do you go about protecting that information?
That's a good question. I'm not a security expert. So normally with this kind of situation, we have to collaborate with experts to see how they can set up the system so that it's secure and there's no possibility of breach from unauthorized parties. I understand your question. For example, if you're doing a bank building or a military facility, all those information are sensitive and those have to be secured. Normally, there are security experts who set those up, and we collaborate with those experts.
Okay, other questions?
You.
Yeah, go ahead, Jojo, take some questions.
How big are the... Okay, I think we covered all of those in the chat box.
Okay. I have a question for you, Jojo.
Yes.
So, is IDEA practicing all of the 10 trends that you shared with us? And also, globally, in other countries, what percent of the 10 trends do they practice? And here in the Philippines, how do we compare, other than yourself? Or is IDEA practicing all 10 trends?
We're not, and I don't think there's any firm that is currently practicing all the 10. We are still in the early days of adapting to this new technology, and but the difference between us and the other countries is that in other countries like Singapore and Dubai, for example, VDC is mandatory. In other words, you have to use BIM models to submit to the government, and there's no way out of it. That's a requirement. In our country, it's not there. That's what Architect June mentioned, and because of that, the pace of adoption is faster because it's mandatory. In a place like Singapore, the government also provides funding for new technologies related to the building industry. So the way it works is that you do your innovation, and they'll rebate you for the work, or they'll give you a fund. Again, that's something that is not available in the country, and that's why our pace of adoption is a lot slower than in other more progressive countries. But I would say, Franco, I have not seen a firm or even trying. The most advanced I've seen is Finland. Finland has always been at the cutting edge of this kind of technologies. But even Finland still has ways to go before they can claim that they're fully migrated to digital.
So, Jojo, do I take it to mean that if you're just starting out in digital technology for architecture, would you start with the number 10 because that's the most commonplace and most basic, and then find your way in, to doing more technological breakthroughs, like go to 9, 8, 7? Is that the way to start?
Yeah, yes, that's right. The BDC is the base technology. Many firms have difficulties adapting because in the Philippines, cost is an issue. Obviously, migrating to a new technology is not cheap. But at the same time, if you don't migrate, then there will be a point or a time where we will be obsolete if we continue to use the old technology. There are two big issues, in my view, in migration. Number one, of course, is cost, as I mentioned. But the biggest one is mindset. When we were migrating, I noticed that we can buy software and hardware. You can train people, but if people are not willing to change, then that's the biggest problem. The mindset, managing mindsets, I think, is a big challenge in any change like this. And that's something that has to be anticipated, and we need to plan for that on a corporate level. And whenever people ask me what's the biggest challenge in this sort of thing, I tell them people. You have to manage people. And I understand, it's human nature. I'm an expert in a technology, and suddenly my expertise is gone because I'm back to zero. I have to learn a new one. So that's what we faced when we were migrating in 2005. We have to face those kinds of people, staff, and and just be firm that either they change or they're out. Otherwise, we will not be able to succeed in our migration.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay,
there's a question here from Ramon.
Go ahead.
May I?
Yes, please.
Do you think there will be a time in the future that man will use design and build templates and just limit or do away with the services of an architect? I think there will be a trend towards design build, but the fact that there's the design component will always need an architect for building design. I don't think that the architect will be obsolete. In other countries, the design build industry is big. Most major projects are done in design build. And there are still, the architect is still part of the design team, and the architect still assumes the lead consultant position. So I don't think we will be obsolete, or there will not be a need. And maybe I'm biased because I'm an architect, but that's a trend I see in other countries. And also, but having said that, we have to also learn how to adapt and to configure our services so that we are more responsive to this mode of delivery.
Okay, other questions?
Franco, this is Paul. Can I ask?
Yes, please.
Good afternoon. Sorry, I can't turn on my video. I'm in the province. My signal's weak. Architect, I have two questions. First is, in the Philippines, as you probably know, we have a backlog of affordable housing or low-cost housing of something like 6-7 million units. What advice would you give to the industry, to the government, so we can fast-track production and catch up, and especially on the affordable low-cost housing, so we can help the neediest in the society? Yeah. Hello. Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I get cut?
Yes, for a few seconds.
Yeah, architect. So what I was saying is, in the Philippines today, we have a backlog of affordable homes for the lower income, middle income of society. The last I checked, it was about 6 to 7 million housing backlog. What advice would you give to the government and to the industry using technology to try to catch up on the production, because it's a big problem here in our country?
That's a good question. I'm not an expert in affordable housing, sir, but I'll give you my 2 cents. When you say affordable housing, you mean socialized housing for the poor, or for the lower bracket of society. Is that correct?
Yes, lower up to the middle income. We have a 6 million backlog as of this year.
Yes, that's right. Well, I think it's several pronged. It's probably not only a design concern, but it's also maybe Architect Jun can answer this later. It's also infrastructure concern. Why? I think the question is why is our housing program failing? And I think it's because number one, people can't afford it. Expensive to live in the city. You want to live outside of the city. There's no infrastructure to bring you to your place of work. That's our access to money is also difficult. I think the way technology can contribute is that we can make the prototypes or the product as cost efficient as possible by efficient production, by modular construction, for example, so you realize economies of scale. But that's just the design component. I'm sure there are other aspects that are non-design that also contribute to our backlog in housing. Maybe Architect Jun, it would be good to hear your inputs. Architect?
You may have left.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, Joe. Our affordable housing for the poor, the government approach, I'm sorry to say, is not the right thing to do. We are relocating them, the poor, farther away from their places of work. So they keep coming back, and they create a second family and all of that. It's even a social problem. There should be on-site or near the site. And the trend now, our communities are mixed income and cross-generational. No longer what we inherited from the Spanish colonial town planning. Town plaza concept, intramuros for the ilustrados in the Principalia, inside the walls, extramuros for the peasants, the Indios, and the Sanglais. It's still happening today. So we don't have democratic space for income classes. It's really the livelihood. And as the income grows, the house would grow. Thank you for allowing me to share again. Thank you. Thank you, Jojo. You're doing great. Thank you. And Jojo is a native of digital world. Most of us still aliens. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Keith, were you raising your hand? Okay, so with that, I think.
Yeah. I just sent a question on the chat box. That was all. Sorry.
Okay, can you go ahead and?
If there's still time, so just following up on the low-cost housing, in the model that the speaker mentioned, he was talking about it being 10, then 100, and then 500 of maintenance, giving a very high 4,000, let's say, of lifetime cost of a building. Is the problem sometimes with our low-cost housing is that we're leaving too much for the people, putting it in as very low-cost 100, we're leaving too much for the people who can't afford to maintain it because they quickly become quite. So do we need to switch it to having high capex but lower maintenance ongoing if we're really going to help people?
Yeah, thank you, Keith, for that model is for high-rise structures, for towers, which is typical of what we do. But I agree with you that the principle is the same. Maintenance is a lot higher than capex. I think the problem is also. I'm looking at it from the projects we do for private developers. There's also such a thing as a threshold of disposable income. And again, it's economics, right? Developers create a product for affordable housing which matches the disposable income of a household. If it goes up and if they spec it with more expensive, less maintenance, the materials that are or systems that require less maintenance, and the price goes up, but the market cannot afford that product. So it's always that delicate balance between what the market can afford and what product can we develop within that budget or within that threshold. It's interesting. As an architect, we're not normally trained to look at projects that way. But because we work with private developers, we were exposed to this kind of reality. And that, developers have data. For example, on if you have two husband and wife working in Makati, how much will they earn in a month? How much do they spend for maintaining the family, and how much is their disposable income? And that is the starting point for them to develop the product. Yeah, that's the reality of projects. But I agree with you. If, let's say, the government can spend more on better structures, then I think it will not require their tenants or the owners to spend a lot in maintenance. But the reality is it doesn't work out that way, unfortunately.
Okay, I guess, is that everybody then? All right, I'm gonna turn over the floor to President Louis for his response, and you can go ahead and do the token too as well if you like.
Thank you, classmate Franco. During my stint as a member of the Forbes Tower Condominium Corporation, I had the privilege of knowing and working closely with these two fine gentlemen, Franco de Rosario, now president of Makati West, and our speaker for today, architect Jojo Tolentino. And Jojo struck me as one of the most level-headed persons I've ever worked with. We made him vice president and chairman of the Building Management and Renovation Committee, if you still remember that, Joe, primarily because of his expertise in design, construction, and development. At that time, the board felt that Jojo would be able to turn around the building that had seen better days. Well, I did not stay long enough in the board as to see through Jojo's planned opus for that building, but I remained secure in the thought that for as long as Jojo had put his heart and mind into it, that building would have certainly seen significant improvements. Now, fast forward to March 2021, this year, and I read again about architect Jojo in the Philippine Daily Inquirer. It was actually a synopsis of what he has discussed with us today about how his firm idea has disrupted, quote unquote, the field of architectural design, engineering, and construction by heavily investing in digital technology. Now, the words disruption and innovation are often interchanged, if not used in the same sentence. If you do not innovate, you end up being left behind. And if you do not disrupt, you end up being ignored. Because of that heavy investment in digital technology, architect Jojo's firm was able to gain advantage in this highly competitive world of architectural design, engineering, and construction, making full use of what he termed as data as the new currency. This investment in digital technology enabled this group to also continue servicing their clients even during these debilitating lockdowns. Indeed, architect Jojo, the disruptor, was not disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So architect Jojo, we wish you all the luck. We also thank you for giving us your time to speak in front of our two great clubs today. We know how busy you are. By the way, the building you are presently constructing, which is CWC, is right across our building. I can cross over and we can have coffee along with Franco. Now, as tokens of our appreciation, the Rotary Club of Makati will be sending you its 50th anniversary coffee table book, along with this fine bottle of Merlot, which you can take a swig while going to the pages of the coffee table book. We would also be dedicating one reef pod for you. This will be planted in the Sea of Narvacan, Ilocos Sur, as part of our Save Our Reefs project. It is a major environmental initiative of the club, our club, in line with the Rotary 7th area of focus in order to revive and regenerate our marine ecosystems. And a replica of the steel plate, you see it, is encased in this plaque of appreciation, which we shall also be sending over to you. On behalf of the Rotary Club of Makati and our aunts, please accept our heartfelt gratitude. And by the way, congratulations to our boxer, Carlos Paalam. He just won his bout and is assured of a silver medal.
That's great.
Classmate Franco.
Okay. Okay, Jojo, thanks so much for sharing today. I guess nobody can argue with you that the biggest challenge to something like this, like digital transformation, would be changing mindset. I mean, a lot of people, particularly, I suppose, if you're already making money and there's no urgency to adopt, embrace technology, they'll be slow to embrace it, right? So this is probably not a very good example, but I heard that there are two ways people change. One is if it's too painful to remain where you are, and the other one is there's so much opportunity to change that you want to be part of it. So I guess, I don't know, in the case of Dubai and Singapore, they do require firms to do all their work with VDA. I think that's what you mentioned. So they're forced to. But unfortunately, we don't have those kinds of subsidies or where we can get government funding. So, but I salute you, Jojo, that in spite of all the challenges that you face venturing into digital transformation, particularly in the field of design and architecture, that you have you've been relentless in pursuing this and bringing it to the Philippines, and so that's really admirable. On a personal note, President Louis, I miss you and Jobel Ramos, because before, when we used to be a 5-man board, I can afford not to listen, and because I know you guys will continue to pick up the discussion. Now we're down to 3-man board, and then I have no choice but to listen to every conversation that goes on in the meeting. But anyway, Architect Jojo, in behalf of the Rotary Club of Makati West, we would like to present you with this certificate. We are dedicating to you. We have a project called the Gift of Life. Gift of Life essentially is a program that helps indigent children who obviously, they wouldn't be able to afford surgery, PDA closure device, and all of that. So we've been at this now for several years. We've already helped over 1,000 infants. So for gracing our club with your presence as guest speaker, we are pleased to include you as a loving donor in the PDA device closure procedure performed on Ellie Quinn N. Mejia. She's 8 months old from Block 22, Lot 52, 14th Avenue, Kabayani Road, Nangka, a recipient of our club's Gift of Life project. So thank you, Jojo. More power to you, more success. And thank you for letting me learn so much from you in all the meetings, and don't give up on me. We need more patience. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And it's my pleasure to be part of this meeting and to share a little bit of what we know. If there's an interest to have more detailed information, please feel free to call us, send an email. I will be happy to have engaged you in another discussion. Thank you again. And our President Franco and President Louis, thank you for having me. Good luck on your positions. It's interesting. The 2 board members are also presidents. In Forbes Tower, also presidents of their respective Rotary clubs. So I'm with a very distinguished group. So thank you, everyone, and stay safe. And hope to see you during better times. Thank you.
President Louis, close the meeting for your club, please.
Yeah, can I have my data? Okay. For the Rotary Club of Makati, I now join this meeting.
So I just want to add one last thing to what President Louis said. 2 great clubs, but also we need to add their 2 handsomest clubs in the Philippines. So undisputed. So thank you again. And with this, I bring this meeting of the Rotary Club of Makati West to a close. I now adjourn this meeting.
Photos. Photos, classmate.
And then group photos, turn
Group
on
photo.
the camera. Turn on the camera.
Please turn on the camera for a group photo.
Okay. Okay, 1. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Franco,
have a good afternoon. Yeah, Louis, just say
good afternoon. Yeah. All right, bye. I have to go to the government.